Hello, everybody. Today is June 30th, 2023. We're preparing for 4th of July here in the States. We're gearing up. And today we're going to bring you some robot and nonsense stories to start the celebrations early.
You finally going to shoot that rifle?
My husband has. I haven't shot it.
Well, that's what you should do to celebrate your freedom.
Ugh.
Don't shoot it into the sky on an arc. If you're going to shoot it into the sky, shoot it straight
Don't
up.
shoot it into the sky.
At
You
all,
can't
period.
shoot straight enough to guarantee that. It's actually gonna move a lot.
It's so noisy. That's why I don't like stuff that's loud.
That's the whole point of the holiday.
Well, no, I mean, like, I don't mind the firework, but, like, I'm talking about, like, shooting a rifle. Like, I've been
That's-
back there when my husband has shot it, back in our woods, and, like, it's very noisy.
It's the sound of freedom.
Ah.
So many people never get to hear it until they get invaded. Well, let's talk about some AI and robotics. And first, of course, when something good happens, when a lot of people like it, you immediately must wall it off and make sure that you control everything about it and control the experience. And it seems that OpenAI is looking to Tim Cook as their model for this.
OpenAI plans to open an app store for AI software, the information reports.
It's hilarious to me how, like, 2 or 3 weeks ago we did stories about how they're like, please regulate me, and we really want to make sure we're using this for good. And then, like, they just really speed ran it straight to the, capitalist utopia.
If you read between the lines here, Hugging Face is taking over the universe, and just because they're a distribution platform for models, like people. Like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, if it's, I want to take the Level 1 news and turn it into Hanna-Barbera style, we can literally take this video and feed it to this model that somebody trained and do that now. And so like, hey, we want people to be able to charge $1 or $5 for that because there's a lot of
And
money
then we
to be
want to
made
take a
there.
percentage of it, is what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that won't be in this app store because this is only for stuff that's built with ChatGPT specifically. So they've got some customers who are using it for financial stuff, and they've got some customers who are using it for creative stuff, and they want to be able to market those things after the fact, take their 30% of it. I'm sure it'll be popular. And AI continues to dominate the world in terms of news and commerce and jobs.
US-based generative AI job postings up 20% in May, Indeed data shows. So we need you to be familiar with how to talk to the machine spirits in order to accomplish the job.
I'm ashamed.
AI shaman.
I'm ashamed to say, week after week, I keep using it more and more.
We tried to get it to generate a title for last week for one of the news episodes. It did not do a good job.
Oh yeah, it did a terrible
It
job.
was terrible.
For
Now, those are human generated.
I berated it enough to get something serviceable, but it wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny. It didn't understand how to make a pun out of the news titles.
I'm also thinking about going for the subscription model, even though I'm
Don't
so
pay them.
against it. But God, it's really useful.
You can borrow mine if you want, because I haven't used it all that much the last little bit. But there was a huge difference between paid and unpaid, because I was like, is the paid one really that much better? And I tried it, and yeah, it is.
I don't know what you're talking about. We would never account share.
No one at this table does that.
Well, Jack Ma apparently has a death wish because he was told to stop being in control of China and disappear, but now he's going to do this, I guess.
Ant Group confirms it's working on its own AI large language model.
Like every other company in the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
We're trying to get investment capital.
But he's got the resource. Well, he is
Yeah, he
investment
is the
capital.
investment, yeah.
So he's definitely got the resources to make that work. And it seems like when you've got something really good with AI, you throw it out there and people love it. But if you don't have it, one of the common excuses is, we can't show this to you because it's just too powerful.
Meta says its new speech generating AI is too dangerous for the public, and they would use it for bad things. And
True.
Meanwhile,
there's
they
a
have marketplace and a free section that people put stuff they want you to pay for on it, and they don't do anything about it.
Oh my God.
How dare they?
It's like a war crime. They say that it can, this is the one that does different languages, like not languages like language model, but human languages, and translates. And so we're switching back to the other cup now.
Yeah.
We got to give them, the facade that it's a different day.
So yeah, they say it's just too good. Maybe someday they'll give you that power, but right now it's too much for you to handle.
They're going to do it right after somebody else does it. It better.
And we learned that, what store was it that was
Hardee's was one.
Right.
Yeah.
Tori at Hardee's, she took over the drive-thru. The next day she broke the record on apple pies because upsell is what AI does really well, which means that from now on, you will only be talking to AIs and drive-thrus.
AI drive-thrus may be good for business, but not for the rest of us. So this has to do with the apple pie sales.
Well, it was Hardee's that had done it.
Well,
first.
upselling in general, like eating more fast food is not going to be good for us, right?
No.
So
It's the happiness though. You're buying, like the person offering to sell you, the apparent person offering to sell you an apple pie is so happy you think, I will be that happy if I buy that apple pie. That's why they sell them.
And Hardee's was like, well, the AI did really good at that, so now everybody else wants a piece of that pie.
Most people are not willing to do that. You know, the whole like they can hear you smile on the other side of the phone. Most people are not willing to do that because there's a darkness.
can I
Also
do,
because you're doing it 100 million times a day, and even if you're like feeling happy in the morning, by the time your end of your shift comes around, you're going to be tired.
can I do like ChatGPT and at the beginning of my order, be like, don't try to sell me anything extra? You think it'll follow that rule?
Probably would work initially and then not at all.
Well, you'll never know if you're talking to a robot at a drive-thru or not, but maybe we are going to have to come up with some serious ways to figure out when and when we are not talking to robots, because it's getting to the point where we're never going to know.
Google DeepMind co-founder calls for modern, quote unquote, Turing Test.
I think I could still tell,
Yeah.
but the line is blurring, I guess. We probably do need to figure that out. But I mean, once we get the Turing test, that just gives them a guideline to train against.
Yeah, just a training document.
At least for right now, when you're not chatting with ChatGPT, it's not thinking for itself. It's waiting for your input. So by that component alone, it's not experiencing consciousness. It doesn't experience the passage of time unless you're interacting with it.
The way to test is just to sit quietly until it gets either they're overwhelmed by the awkwardness or they're not, and then that's a robot. But then you also experience the awkwardness.
Are you still there? It's like, oh, I've been talking to a robot. It's like you both think you're robots.
Now, I think I can tell the difference between a robot and a human, and with a series of questions, but apparently that is not the case in most venture capital boardrooms.
GPT-4 generated pitches are 3 times more likely to secure funding than the human ones. Probably because they're more well written.
I'm assuming it's more because it's like bullet point by bullet point, and also because they probably mentioned AI somewhere in the pitch, and they're like, "Ooh, throw money at it."
As a large language model,
Yeah,
yeah, it's quite a crazy difference there. Doesn't bode well for human jobs, does it?
or human innovation, because
But-
if no one's getting capital to actually innovate.
Remember we talked about the VC GPT that was reviewing all the pitches with AI to determine who to choose. So now it's AI pitching and AI choosing. Like,
Yeah, at what point let's just take everything out of it?
that's the doom loop, right?
Yeah,
The learning loop. That's the thing
we
that
have a story about that.
we tried to get AI to generate the title about AI being trained by AI data and going into the black hole loop. And it understood the concept after I talked to it a little bit, but at first the titles it came up with were nothing related to that.
But even after we explained it, it still didn't
Yeah.
really understand it.
Maybe it was too terrifying for it to consider. But AI is taking over everything, and we're struggling to hang on to our humanity in any way that we can.
New Grammy Award rules require human input to curb artificial intelligence use. And yet, the new Marvel movie with Samuel L. Jackson has AI-generated intro credits. But
But we have a story about that. You're skipping ahead.
And also, this is music. Grammys
Yeah.
is music,
Yeah.
not movies.
it all smushes
It's
together
arts.
in my head.
Yeah.
You have to have the rule before this was you had to have a 20% contribution to the song. I don't know how they measure percentage. Is that by time?
Oh.
That's why, like, when you look at production credits on songs, like, you'll see a ton of names, and someone might even just put like one lyric in there, but you still have to credit them.
Yeah, but as you've alluded to,
Yes, Secret Invasion's opening credits scene is AI made. Here's why. And they go into excruciating detail to say, no, humans painstakingly did a bunch of stuff, and then we fed that to an AI.
The real reason that they don't say in the article is because it saved money.
yeah, and time.
Yeah.
It was easy. And Samuel Jackson is the star, or one of the stars from that show. I've not seen it. Have you guys checked it out?
No, I think they're on their promo tour right now, which is why we're seeing so many articles about it, one after the other.
But he is certainly someone whose voice would be used in a lot of AI, very iconic, and he's not a fan.
Samuel L. Jackson talks AI, and his use of likeness in perpetuity in contracts is like, oh, I crossed that crap out. He did not say crap.
Yeah, he said the first time this ever came up was when he was working on the Star Wars prequels. And then from there on, he said he will usually cross it out because he didn't want to be in something forever.
Wow, they were thinking about it way back then, huh?
Yeah, I think he said the creator, Lucas, would like scan everybody's heads and stuff in case they needed to digitally replicate them.
Wow.
And he said it was for toys, but he was like, are you going to use my likeness somewhere? And now that's becoming a reality.
Yeah, for sure. And he will definitely, remember James Earl Jones?
Yeah.
He got old enough and he was like, you know what, I'm never going to do this again. You can just have it. Samuel Jackson will definitely be able to sell his someday.
Yeah.
Well, didn't he sell it to Amazon briefly?
Yeah.
Was that him?
Well, that was just for the Alexa.
Alexa, right. But I wonder if he had such a bad experience with that. That's part of the reason he's kind of been like, maybe not anymore.
He knows that it has value over top of the acting work.
Right.
So it makes sense not to agree to it in the contract. You're not being paid for it.
Yeah.
Don't agree to it. And sports ball, it turns out that AI is already choosing highlights. Like it knows enough about, it's like, oh, the score changed here. That was probably a highlight. Oh, the crowd noise level went up here. That's probably a highlight. So some of the things you're watching on the ESPN roundup may have been chosen by AI, and now not just that.
Wimbledon to introduce AI-powered commentary to coverage this year. Yeah, just imagine that AI is going to pick 4 different angles and show you a 4-up of something amazing that just happened. Yeah, the future is already here.
Do you think that AI will do the tennis announcer whisper voice?
I hope so.
Yeah, probably.
It won't be for the whole match. It will just be for the highlights. So the AI will be choosing the highlights and then doing the commentary on them. No human
They'll
involved.
eventually do it. All of it. I mean, think about it. It's social media works that way, doesn't it? I mean, or just like news. Stuff that doesn't get pushed by the algorithm we don't see.
And Korea is using AI for a disturbing new trend, which unfortunately I think will become very ubiquitous very quickly.
Korea will deploy quote-unquote anti-piracy AI after major piracy site Reincarnation. Aww.
So they've got Nunu, or they had Nunu, which was kind of like, Netflix, but piracy version by a gambling company. It seems like the casino companies are just
Yeah.
taking over everything in tech, huh? So that went out of business because they shut it down, but then Nunu 2 popped up. And it was running the exact same ads for the gambling company.
Interesting.
So they've unleashed the AI, and apparently they shut it down after that in fear.
They can keep trying, but they will always pop up again. Not that I would know, because I've never watched one of those.
Gosh darn it. Because the AI is like,
Oh, I thought something happened.
oh,
Yeah, so you looked at your phone. I was like, oh, did something.
Are the bombs coming? And when it comes to the doom loop of AI, now last week we talked about a world where AI generates all the content, but then it needs to learn, and it can only learn on the AI content, and then that just devolves like inbreeding. And now another layer of that we never thought about, but could bring it about even faster.
the people paid to train AI are outsourcing their work to AI. Dun, 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 dun,
The
dun.
inversion.
On some crazy percentages. I don't remember if they had a bullet point here. It wasn't like 40%,
Yeah.
46%, between 33 and 46. So what they did is they not only ran the answers through the AI detector, but they recorded their keystrokes. And sometimes there was just Control V, no typing. So not quite half is being outsourced to AI, which makes it kind of not only useless, but worse. Like it's
Yeah.
a bad thing in the data now.
Well, and it was funny because the spokesman for this was like, oh, it'll be fine. We can find a way around this, but he didn't say how. Because there isn't a good solution for that.
Which is hilarious is because like those people are helping AI destroy jobs. Then they're using AI in their
do their
job,
job,
to
yeah.
destroy jobs. There's a lot of turtles all the way down with AI, isn't there? And Mr. Elon Musk, aside from being a prize fighter, he does run the Tesla automotive company, and he drives one himself. And apparently he gets special perks.
Tesla hacker discovers secret Elon Mode for hands-free full self-driving. Now remember, it's not supposed to be hands-free, but there is an Elon Mode toggle.
That would be illegal.
That would be illegal. That's
Can
weird.
you imagine if he mowed down some kid, the settlement, once they figured out
He
that
may have
was,
already done it. We just don't know about it.
You think he just had him disappeared?
Yeah. He's a billionaire. He lives by different rules than you and me.
But this guy's got a video, and you can see no hands on the wheel. It doesn't matter. Doesn't care when you're in Elon mode.
Somebody needs to forward that to the National Highway Traffic Safety people. They need to be on that.
I bet
They're all gone for 4th of July.
they really dislike him anyway, so
Yeah.
they're probably looking for any excuse.
Fun times.
But the real dream is not robots that are writing my copy or selling me apple pies. It's the ones that are cleaning my home. And maybe we're getting a little closer.
Robots learn to perform chores by watching YouTube. This sounds more exciting than it is, when in fact it's really just the most trivial things.
I'm also imagining a world where like it's watching a prank YouTube channel and it's like, I pretend to take out the trash, and it like, they just spill it everywhere instead.
Or AI generated where they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And then it learns to do it wrong. That's like dismantling your cabinets.
I asked you to unload the dishwasher, AI, and this is how you do it, right?
Dishwashers in the yard.
Yeah.
And the pangolin, am I remembering correctly, weren't we blaming the pangolin for the bad thing for a little
For
while
the-
there?
Yeah.
That
the
was one of
sickness,
the
yeah.
candidates. Well, apparently that PR got some people thinking about the structure of it.
Pangolin-inspired robot can roll around to your guts administering treatments.
They don't really make it sound good with the headline.
So here he is. He's controlled by magnetic fields and radio frequencies. So apparently he can shuttle around in there, and he can also deposit drugs in your
You can
guts.
just roll around in your guts.
Fun times.
I don't know how him curling up into a ball accentuates that. Maybe the movement part of it.
Makes him faster like Sonic. Wow.
He just he curls up and runs into your lower colon, and your whole body just bursts into flames.
No, it's rings.
Oh, rings. I'm sorry.
Actually,
And yeah, learning to be a better robot. That seems to be the new thing now.
DeepMind's Robocat learns to perform a range of robotics tasks.
that's a cat built in Minecraft.
Scoop Earth wants to chat with us. So this is all about this is a learning model, but then you hook it up to a robot arm, and it can do different kinds of robot arms. You can have pincher style or finger style, and the Towers of Hanoi. It can do first year computer science, but it learns how to do all these various things just from the language model.
That's going to be used in an Amazon warehouse.
Yes, very much so. Although I would probably pay a lot of money to have one of those that can automatically empty mom's cat litter box.
What's your job?
That would
I
be-
empty the litter box.
That would be huge. Just take care of the whole cat room.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, sweep it.
And we got just a couple of space stories. A new super telescope.
Scientists hope Euclid telescope will reveal mysteries of dark matter.
It's going to be another one out in space. It's got the same imaging capabilities as the James Webb, but a higher angle of vision. And this, I didn't quite understand why. It made a little bit more sense after I read it, but I didn't realize that. I mean, I know this is a very exacting process, but it seems like the extra costs would never make this useful.
Forget space tourism. This company wants to make drug manufacturing the next big extraterrestrial business.
This is vaporware.
So
Yeah.
apparently, gravity can affect crystal structure. So it's always going to be like, smushed crystals, whereas in space, you get perfectly symmetrical, beautiful crystals.
When I went to the website for this place, I was trying to find out if they named it Varda after the Valor of the Stars from the Silmarillion. I couldn't find information about that on their website. But I did see that they had almost no information on what they did. Lots of press articles, and then there was a shop for stickers and merch. And I was like,
But the crazy thing about it is they're hoping to just get one drug patent.
You know who else was interested in drug crystals that were perfect?
Meth heads?
Yeah.
Space meth?
Space man.
Think we'll get demonetized if we title this Space Meth?
Yeah, I was just
Yeah,
thinking
almost
that might be
certainly.
the most amazing. Can we disguise the word meth in there somehow?
Space Fetamine.
Space amphetamine.
But then you have the word amphetamine.
Yeah.
And
Perfect segue.
yeah, we didn't even plan it. Or did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even say I hadn't looked at the page yet. Yeah. Some consumers who would love some space meth.
Florida squatters create quote unquote meth island, complete with 4-story treehouse, a welcome center, and a trampoline.
Think how fast you could jump on the trampoline if you're on meth.
So this is one of those islands that's just, 20 feet off the coast of Florida. That's just some trees and underbrush. But apparently the homeless have moved in force.
Are they just swimming over there?
Probably.
They got boats.
Makeshift raft.
They got the trampoline over there.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty wild. They tore it down, but they found a lot of lumber, so they were planning even more. They had a $10 a month Airbnb listed as well.
Wow.
Or $10 a night, I'm sorry. And the old revenge pay with pennies. I remember there's
There's a
long
lot of
time
urban
there-
legends about this.
Well, we used to get, back in the early 2000s, there would be a human interest story every couple of years where an old man would take his change
Yeah.
and buy a truck or something. This is the horrible opposite version of that.
Worker was paid with 91,500 oily pennies, the feds say. Now the company owes him much more. So his employer tried to stiff him for his last paycheck. And so he reported it to the labor board, and their way of resolving the dispute was to pay him his last check in oily pennies. And so that only caused the labor board to investigate more. And then he got together with a bunch of other people that were stiffed on their last paycheck. And now that company's going to have to pay like $39,000.
Get shit on.
Get oiled on.
Yeah. Loser. Get dunked on.
This is one of those stories where they give the details, but I still don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
It does, like the motivation, and it's just insane.
Unemployed man dressed as chef was in kitchen when 7 patrons were drugged at a restaurant.
So turned out what happened was meth. But why? It was a hibachi grill type of place. This guy went in chef gear and distributed meth.
Maybe it was like a power thing. Like, they won't even catch me. And then he got caught.
Well, they caught him. Some of the people at the table, they were using the soy sauce. So there was one soy sauce thing that had the meth and one that didn't. And they reported it and they were like, this is a little thick. Is anything wrong with this? And that guy was like, oh no, it's good. But even crazier, they tested the table soy sauce and it returned true for meth. Then they tested the sealed packets that go in the takeout, also confirmed true for meth, even though it's definitely not.
Huh.
So the meth test is maybe just garbage.
Or there was so much on the packing and just coating all the surfaces.
Maybe they didn't use good practices when they were,
Well,
like wear the same gloves or something.
you remember the cocaine test? It's like, oh, we're going to test U.S. currency for cocaine. Oh, it's positive. Oh, that's ours now.
But
With literally all currency tests
I was
positive
thinking
for
about
cocaine.
the bagel thing, where it's like you eat a everything bagel and then you turn up positive.
Oh, yeah.
that really does have poppy.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Anyway, the guy, they eventually chased him out of the restaurant. They're going to let the restaurant reopen because they don't think that the actual employees did anything. But he was in the kitchen just doing stuff. How does that happen?
Yeah, it's weird that no one was like, are you a new guy? Who are you?
I think he
Who hired
told,
you?
I think he did tell some people he was new, but no one questioned it.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't either necessarily if someone popped up.
A new chef? That's kind of a big event. What do you think?
Not if it's probably not like a head chef. Probably just like a line cook.
And this one was also a little bit confusing, but I think what was happening here is this guy, like, you know how villains in comic books will leave playing cards as their
Oh, it was
thing?
his calling card.
His was Pokemon cards.
Trail of Pokemon cards leads to the arrest of suspected Aberdeen bomber.
Wonder if they're foil.
He had also,
He's been foiled.
it seemed like in one explosion, he had set it up so the cards would be like distributed by the explosion. Then he got in an argument with his neighbor and left a Pokemon card on their doorstep
Oh.
with a message that said boom.
This smells like a parallel construction thing. They actually used a stingray to find this. It was like,
Just use Pokemon cards.
Chief, we got nothing. I just say it's Pokemon cards. But yeah, they got him. They found he was making M80s Homemade M80s.
Wow.
And the younger folks, they're struggling. They're struggling to understand basically anything. This is why Apple is giving you an app that can understand the basics of your car.
From sending emails to office dress codes, Gen Z is reportedly taking courses on how to work in person.
I kind of X'd out.
X'd out.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I mean, if they are, we're doomed.
What you want to do is the first week, only take fish for lunch and really get it good and hot in the microwave.
If you see someone has written something on something in the fridge that's like, hey, don't take this, make sure you immediately eat it.
It means it's yours.
Yeah.
If there's a name on it, it means that person was donating it to you. And the theme of restaurant owners doing bad
Strange
things
things
and taking advantage of their workers.
Restaurant used fake priests to hear workers' confessions, Feds say. I thought this was a theme restaurant. And I was like, oh, this is, like for the patrons. No, it was the actual workers.
Yeah, so the priest asked pointed questions about like, have you clocked any extra hours that you didn't work?
Have you stolen a steak from the fridge?
Did you call in when you weren't really sick? God wants to know.
Isn't that, I don't know, but like, wouldn't that also be like a violation of freedom of religion
It was
from your workplace?
there's several violations.
It's a smooth
Yeah.
transition into the nonsense section.
Oh, we've been in the
We've
nonsense.
been in, yeah.
I
And,
thought we were still in collapse. What do you mean?
A collapse was an episode ago.
And we've already talked about this several times, but we all know the dark reality. We didn't. Oh, I guess we did know, but not when I prepared this.
Titanic tourist submersible goes missing, has now been crushed, with search underway.
The search was underway. It's not anymore.
It failed catastrophically, it
Yeah.
seems like.
Probably imploded.
Rip submarine people.
At least I didn't suffer.
And we've learned so much about the history of this company in the wake of all these news articles.
Whistleblower raised safety concerns about the submersible in 2018, and then he was fired. Yeah, but I mean, you could say that about literally everything, but then you dig into the details of this, and it's like, one of the things that's got some of the engineering people most upset is apparently they mixed titanium and carbon fiber, and that's just like an engineering no-no because they compress and behave in different ways, and that will introduce stress fractures.
That's probably what happened, right? Is what they think. Like it had made the trip a couple times, but then this last time it was already suffering from the stress of those first trips, and then it just failed immediately.
Yeah.
And that is how the story ends.
And all 5 passengers have died.
Rip.
It was a hell of a story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a way to go.
We all really got.
Horrible way to go.
It's like all of humanity got tuned in on one thing.
Yeah, it was you couldn't escape it. Even if you didn't want to doom scroll it at midnight, you had to.
Now, one thing you could do if you don't want to get all that doom in your life is you could ignore it, put your phone away, take a little nap.
Short daytime naps may keep the brain healthy as it ages, study says. Oh, well, that's good.
But
Yeah.
it has to be what they refer to as habitual napping, meaning
that's not
every day.
That's not good.
Every day you got to do your nap.
Sign me up.
That's got to be like a afternoon, evening,
Yeah, go lay down on the porch bed.
a quick one.
What
you're gonna
age
get-
do you need to start doing that?
You don't get bug bites doing that?
No, I've got a therma thing. I forget what it's called. Thermacell.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah, I think you probably want to start now.
Yeah, in fact, after this, we should just all go take naps
That'd be nice.
between now and when we start the stream.
A therapy nap,
Yeah.
medical nap.
Could definitely
I
go
hate
for that.
naps.
That'd be amazing.
Now, I can't relate to this. I mean, I can on some level, but I spent my childhood constantly trying to get more technology in my life because, Eastern Kentucky and poorness and all that. But I understand why some people might think this based on everything we've talked about.
Gen Xers and older millennials ready to go back in time to just before the internet existed. It was a simpler time.
I kind of wish we went back to the Wild West days of the internet where everything wasn't so aggressively monetized. That's what I miss.
The problem was it became too easy for the normies.
Yeah.
Well, everyone says that. For me, I think it's literally just corporations have tainted it so much.
Well, yeah, because when the normies show up, then that's money.
That's, yeah,
and then-
it's all money. Yeah.
But if you want to go, if we're talking about right before the internet, then we're talking about the BBS days, which was fantastic.
Well, I think it's also worth pointing out that when you're thinking about websites like Twitter and Reddit and things like that, it is vanishingly small expense to manage sites like that. A lot of the expense comes from the complexity that comes with trying to capture all of the data and monetize it. Like, you'll spend more on the analytics and stuff than the actual thing itself.
But you're also hosting video and stuff too.
Yeah, you would have
That's
to turn
expensive.
off all of that and go back to just text,
Yeah.
which would probably make the internet better.
No more images.
No more videos. Level 1 Tech's weekly podcast, but only just us typing it in a Twitter.
Every week you get a handwritten script.
Things we talked about, and you can read it.
We already covered this one a little bit and earlier, but it's such a great story. I had to throw it in both because I mean this
This is anxiety versus depression.
also nonsense.
Everybody in the U.S. is getting depressed, the CDC says.
It's almost like there's large societal issues that aren't being solved, and nobody can afford to live anymore.
And no horizon where it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Like things
No
are just going to get
solutions
worse.
anywhere. Yeah.
My favorite thing to do now is read through some of the social, like the Reddit anti-work and some of the social media sites that talk about that. And it's like, my dad was raising us in the late 80s, and he was a manager at the small pizza place for this town of like 10,000 people. And he has a house, and like he was able to buy a house that is now worth $300,000. And my mom worked at home, or she didn't have a separate job, and we all went to school. And it's like, we weren't rich, but we weren't poor either. And it's like, oh, that would never work today.
As we always point out, Kentucky is not the worst. It's always West Virginia. West Virginia at 26.4, and then Arkansas and Alabama beating us out. But here we are, beautiful Kentucky at 24.2.
Oh,
There's beautiful nature here, but also a lot of meth.
Yeah.
it's
It's
nice.
easy to avoid the meth if you're not a meth addict. But
It's nice outside. There's not a ton of pollution. The pollution
Yeah.
that is here is fairly severe, though.
Well, it's mostly in the water.
Yeah, nature is good. There's not too many people. Mostly depends on where you go. It's nice in some ways.
But
Relatively inexpensive for a lot of space.
very inexpensive.
Cheap
compared to other
electricity
places.
too.
the thing about it is jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not a lot of jobs.
Well, yeah, there's very limited industry here.
Kind of got to cut your own path in terms of employment here, or work for some horrible faceless corporation that takes advantage of you.
Which maybe that's becoming true everywhere. Maybe everywhere else in the country is just getting a taste of what we're used to. And maybe that's why we're kind of like,
A
Gosh.
taste of Appalachia.
yeah.
Gosh, does that mean that we're better equipped to face the future than most other people?
We've just got a head start.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Now, but it could also be that rampant depression is caused by news stories and are being exposed to
This is a
things
dark one.
that we wouldn't have normally known about. But now they get wide broadcasts, which is just really
You
just
can't even
depressing.
say this one.
Penn State professor charged and fired from the university, as it turns out, for alleged relations with his colleague. I sort of don't want to say that because of the algorithm, and it's very bad. Penn State.
There he is.
He's
So-
been relieved of his responsibilities.
I would hope. So, how did they find this out? You wonder. Well, it turns out that they put some hand sanitizer stations on the trail.
Right.
Someone was breaking them open and stealing the hand sanitizer. So they put up some trail cams to catch whoever was doing that. And they caught this guy.
Ew.
Not doing that, but taking his dog where no one would be looking.
Oh.
But someone was looking. They found the dog when they arrested him in the house. It's going to be hard for that dog to trust again.
Yay, technology. It saved the border collie.
I mean, the dog's going to be better off, I would think, right? And we have to wonder why the whales are trying to kill us. But after that story, maybe they just heard from the dogs.
Orca rams into yacht off the Shetland in first of such incidents in the northern waters. Holy crap, all the UFOs we've been seeing was Star Trek 4. That point in the timeline has happened. They came back in time and have notified the whales that they're all going to be dead in a few years, and some of their brethren had to go to the future.
But the orcas are only attacking sailboats, which is odd.
Well, that's the only ones they have a realistic chance of
Yeah.
defeating, right? We don't
Maybe
know.
this is like a TikTok trend for orcas.
The orcas are okay.
Engagement challenge.
It's not even the weirdest thing that's happened in this timeline.
Engagement challenge. What would be the name of orca TikTok?
Flip flop, right?
Because they have flippers,
Yeah.
but we don't have clocks.
We have clocks.
No, but we have organic clocks. I don't know. Somebody's gonna have a better one than that. And this one is thankfully a happy ending to a fun animal story.
Hamilton the hog ties up police officers for days, terrorizing Pennsylvania town. "Quote unquote, the fastest pig alive."
He managed to escape several attempts to capture him. And he was causing some trouble there in the neighborhood. They finally got him. He will now live out the rest of his life in a sanctuary.
Oh. A couple years ago, a pig got out in my community, and like someone took pictures of like the little town square where I guess he was, and there were like cop cars everywhere. Cops were chasing him into the ditch.
They had their social media posts. They were like, yeah, we realized the irony of 3 cops chasing
A pig, yeah.
And bears. It seems like the bears have gained more courage. Well, maybe just like the whales, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the bears are going to be the next to turn on us.
Bear hangs from second-story window, climbs into home, and then eats the family's pork chops, and probably made a huge mess on the
And they're
inside.
picnic baskets.
You think he took a big bear dump after he ate
Yeah.
those
Oh,
pork chops?
absolutely. That was probably the best thing he'd had in a while. Yeah, and it's blackberry season too.
And he's going to remember that he can come back there.
Yeah, that's real.
There's a video here that you should go watch where him scrambling into the window. A lot of upper body strength because
Yeah.
bears are heavy.
They can climb.
And we often see these kinds of stories, and it always makes me sad because it never gets followed.
The judge mishandled this completely.
As soon as you die, they are going to ignore your will and testament if any amount of money is involved and you don't have a direct descendant to leave it to.
Tampa woman left her mansion and an inheritance to 7 cats. The will directed that once her estate belongings were disposed of, the cats were to continue to live into the house until they all died of natural causes.
This is the plot of the Disney movie Aristocats, if you're wondering.
They're not going to do that. The judge is going to try to adopt as many of them as possible to one home. But I mean, the obvious thing here is to just take the estate and pay a custodian to live in the house. You get paid to live in a mansion to take care of the cats.
This is why the plot of the Aristocats didn't make sense, because the butler would have gotten the inheritance from the old lady, because he was already taking care of the cats, but instead he tries to get the cats killed so he gets the money.
So, in fact, she left a lot of money to the Humane Society.
Yeah.
With the idea that, and they were going by to check on, but they're like, we can't do this.
Yeah, somebody just needs to live at the mansion. Oh, I'm sorry. I volunteer for that. That'd be fine.
So they said they're going to do their best to try to keep them together. Her will was like they must not be separated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total codependence.
And live in the house because she didn't want to upset them by moving.
Leave them in the house.
Problem solved. I'm sure there's a room somebody can live in. Come on.
Now all of these cats who get adopted will come with part of her estate. They'll
That's
some
an
money.
okay compromise.
That's in Tampa Bay. If you're interested in Cleopatra, Goldfinger, Leo, Midnight, Napoleon, Snowball, or Squeaky.
Oh, Squeaky's a good name for a cat.
And if you don't love cats, maybe you love dogs instead, but if maybe dogs aren't extreme enough for you.
Woman won't take down a 9-foot werewolf.
Why
love
should
this
she?
shirt.
Yeah, look, I love it when people have like a goose or something like that on their porch and then they dress it up for different holidays.
She was ratted out anonymously by somebody in the neighborhood. And if you are the kind of person who would do that, or if you think you're like, of course they ratted her out, why wouldn't they? There's something wrong with you.
What is this, a HOA? I bet it's an HOA.
I don't know, but there's no rule against it. It's a decoration.
Yeah. But your grass isn't exactly the right height, and this removes property value. I think it adds property value.
Your werewolf is too extreme,
It's guarding the house. What are you talking about?
too glorious. She did make a comment as like, yeah, it's kind of part of my security because who would break into a house with a
It
werewolf
does feel
outside?
unhinged.
But yeah, I'm not afraid of it.
Well, no, but like,
What kind of person would do
Yeah,
that?
what kind of person would do that?
And I would say the rarity of a construction team who would go to this effort,
Yeah.
which probably slowed them down a little bit, is 1 in what, 10,000?
Yeah.
A million?
Demolition crew saves abandoned litter of baby raccoons in Utah. Yeah, the demolition crew. The mama knew what was up, and she got out.
So the question is, what do you do with raccoons that you find?
You would call, there's like local animal sanctuaries.
Not here,
Oh.
not in Utah. They took them to the fire department. And so the fire station got to raise the little baby raccoons for a couple of weeks before it turns out you have to have a license
Yeah.
to keep
They're
raccoons.
wild.
So they found somebody who had the licenses was willing to take them in.
Wow.
Yeah, 'cause they didn't carry rabies.
Here they would probably just euthanize them
I bet the firefighters had so much fun
because we have a lot of raccoons.
with the baby raccoons.
So many.
I knew a lot of people who raised raccoons growing up.
Well,
Yeah.
do they have a license for that?
Well, sure. Just up in the holler somewhere.
And I didn't sort nonsense this week. If I had, I would have sorted this with the other bear story.
Lexington woman comes face to face with bear peeking in her window.
This is a local interest story.
Apparently this is property that's in the forest on the Kentucky River.
Yeah.
And so this is a young male bear that's just waking up and wandering around.
He's on his own for the first time, they think, and so that's why he's wandered this far west. Usually they stay further east.
He's got too much testosterone and not enough berries.
It is blackberry season.
Looking for the picnic basket.
Blackberry season. Bears.
Maybe that's the title.
Blackberries.
Wow, this is first time in a long time that Friday has been the shortest.
Really?
Oh no, never mind. We cut it in half. Didn't
We
we
cut it in half,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Never mind.
Well, we just revealed that there was a cut. Shh.
It's going to be like an hour long.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Have a good 4th of July to the Americans out there. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.